Hey there, dreamers, and welcome back to Imagine with Royce. If you are new to the channel, hello and welcome. My name is Royce. Today is, I'm not going to say the day we've all been waiting for, but it's the day that happened. We finally heard, we didn't see, but we heard the new verse that was added to the It's a Small World attraction, both coasts at Disneyland Resort in Anaheim and at Walt Disney World in Florida. I have a lot of thoughts, so let's get started. First and foremost, I just want to give honor to the man that kind of made this all happen, right? Obviously, the Sherman Brothers were a duo that created so many amazing, pretty much iconic film soundtracks, and of course lyrics and music for Disney films and parks forever. I mean, truly, their ability to create lyric and sound together and harmonize it is definitely one that should be honored and recognized for harmony and simplicity, and just all around it's catchy, right? At the end of the day, a song could have a lot of meaning, but is it catchy? Because that's what helps you remember the song. So when I first heard about Richard Sherman being asked to create a third lyric for the It's a Small World song, I always think just because we can doesn't mean we should. And in terms of an attraction that is so iconic of It's a Small World, it's really, I'm torn because I come from a background of, working with Anaheim Imagineering team, which is in charge of the nurture, love, and care of the resort, enhancing, but always keeping with the original intent and the original story that the original Imagineers got to work on, mixed with modern technology and enhancing it better for today's audiences. And I think that sometimes Disney should really take a step back and think, okay, what is it that the guests truly want? Do they want changes to these classics, or do they want them to stay the same? I understand with the times and, changes like to the auction scene, or who even knows, adding the wheelchair dolls to It's a Small World. Those are fine. And then there's some changes that I don't agree with, like, for instance, the hitchhiking ghosts at the end of the Haunted Mansion, digitizing them when they worked just fine. And now there's like this huge blank room full of nothing in the Haunted Mansion. I don't know. I think Imagineering is bored, and I think that they really should consider enhancing things that need enhancement, like Tomorrowland, as I said in a previous video. But the lyrics themselves, when I was listening to them today, I don't know. I think that they try to rush it in, and you miss it if you really aren't paying attention. But I felt it was very rushed and extremely just forced. And I think that Richard is an amazing songwriter, and I think that obviously this is his baby, but I think it should have been left alone. I think it's fine to leave it for like the 70th anniversary, for example, something that's fun, that's seasonal, but don't keep it forever. I think that it was fine the way it was. Additionally, when I was listening to the music, I heard a single solo male voice kind of a little bit louder than everyone else's, and that bothered me. I'm like, okay, why am I hearing just this one tone when it's supposed to be all the children, right? So that's something that I don't know what happened with Disney. And then, of course, this goes back to a maintenance issue. When I was watching the live stream today and I was seeing all the dolls that needed work and needed help, I'm just really sad. I'm like, what is going on? Because when I was part of the maintenance team in Anaheim, our Imagineering art directors were on us like mud on a pig. They were so strict and so just on it. I don't know what else to say besides they knew the importance of maintaining show and how important that is. And the fact that majority of the dolls, were working fine, that's great. But some of them that were, especially in the front, not working, it just made me kind of sad. When I used to work really, really early, God, I used to start at 3, everybody. And I would go into the attraction at like 4 o'clock. I would get there and start working on dolls, painting like blush on their cheeks or fixing their eyebrows. Or my favorite thing is getting Q-tips, and we use cleaning It's called Simple Green, and we used to have like little jars, and I used to dip my Q-tip in the little jar, swirl it around, and then I used to go by the eye because there used to be oil on some of the dolls. I'm sure you've all seen them where you could see the oil stains. It looks like they're gothic or they've been crying oil. So I would clean all of those oil stains off of the dolls, make sure the wigs are on correctly, the costumes look, show ready. I really had a lot of pride in my job, and I took a lot of responsibility to ensure that all of these dolls look extremely presentable for these guests because they mean a lot to them. And I know that sounds really silly, but if you really think about the history of these parks, some people will come there on the Make-A-Wish. So some of them have cancer, and this was their last wish, is to experience these things. So I think Disney should really take, into account all of people's love and dedication for these parks. And in terms of the 70th anniversary, just as a whole, because this is it. Today is the 70th anniversary of Disneyland at the time of, me recording this. Is it all it could have been? Is it all it should have been? I don't think so. Every time I think about a Disneyland castle for the 50th, 60th, and now I look at 70th, it should be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just didn't. It almost looks like a 40th castle, because the 50th was better and the 60th certainly was better. So I hope, I don't know if they'll do 75th. If, it seems like they're doing decade. So hopefully the 80th, oh my gosh, the 80th anniversary, it looks a lot better. And, I think that it's so sad because Kim Irvine just retired. So who knows who's going to take up that torch of art director of Disneyland. But I hope whoever Imagineering finds really understands the intent that Walt put for his first park and really just gives it their all in terms of design. There's so many ideas that were bounced back and forth for the 70th, so many for the 50th. I know that there are talented people capable of creating these things, but Imagineering has to, and a lot of people don't like the Walt figure, and that's fine, but that Walt is the product of the current talent that is at Imagineering. So I think Disney really needs to take a step back and evaluate, okay, are we hiring friends of people or are we hiring people that are talented? I was very fortunate to be able to get into Imagineering at a very young age. I was 23. But if you look on Instagram, all these are youngins now that are on, and I think the majority of them are in Florida. So if you want to be an Imagineer, go to Florida. Obviously, it's pretty easy to get in. Most people are, looks like they're fresh out of college, getting into these roles. But I think Imagineering should be kind of the last 20 year of your career job. I think you should be a senior, extremely proficient in everything that you do. Because, I'm just speaking for myself. When I got into, the paint department, animatronics, I was working with people that were, I think the second youngest person was in his 30s. Everyone else was in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Very proficient, very expert level in painting. And, I'm glad that they took me on and I learned a lot. And I was hired because obviously I had a skill and I had a talent. But I think Imagineering now is just hiring friends of friends. I went way off on a tangent there. But yeah, let me know what you all think of the new song lyrics. I'm really curious to read the comments below. Everyone was pretty vocal with the Walt Disney animatronic. So yeah, until next time, dreamers, always remember not only to follow your dreams, but to chase them. And I will catch you in the next one. Have a magical day.